My name is Dominic Sutton, and I work for the NHS in Northern Ireland. I am a healthcare assistant. I've been at this role nearly 6 years, and this role entails me delivering care from the time the patient enters the hospital until he or she leaves. What I like about it is it gives me time to work on my speech, to talk to people that I wouldn't generally talk to. Also, push out comfort zones by chatting to these people, by sitting down, especially over the past 2 years with the pandemic. People weren't allowed visitors in. So we were mainly the only people they could interact with. So there was a lot of people feeling very lonely, isolated. So for me, I don't mean it was really good for them, but for me to chat to them, just ask them how their day was, how did they feel about being in hospital, just general chat, even ask them about the weather. It was just simple, getting that human connection, which I would never have did about 5 or 6 years ago. I would have avoided situations. So that makes my job really good for me on a personal and an emotional level. For me, 5, 6 years ago, I found it hard to have a conversation. The fear levels would have been through the roof. So I left school with very few GCSEs. I think the fact was that I didn't want to engage the class, so I tried to get into as much trouble as I could. So we're not the top of class, so that affected me as in in school with very low or even no GCSEs. So I went back to SAC, did MVQs. Finally did a foundation degree, which led me into doing a BA honours degree in hospitality. I passed that, so it was a great achievement. I think, to be honest, some people didn't have any confidence that I would do it. So being pig-headed, I had to prove them wrong. Yeah, so I did it. I loved the industry. I've worked in hotels since I was 13. Now it's a different career, but I worked in it for quite a while, but I found hospitality isn't for a person with kids, young family, and to say I took a leap of faith going into care, or into healthcare, and loved it ever since. What I've learned in my 42 years of having a stutter or stammer is I've learned that it doesn't care if you broke. Don't worry if you're struggling words. It's not about, us having to study. You shouldn't let your stutter define who you are. You shouldn't let people laugh in your face, which frankly happened to me quite for a long time in my life until it no longer mattered. Somebody laughs in your face for having a brag. It's not us that has the problem. It's that person who is ignorant and it's them with the problem and the issue. And what I would say to my younger self as well, yeah, I know it's tough. And sometimes if you can't get words out, you can't hold the conversation. Just take a minute and just, think about what can be achieved and just try your best. Probably about 5 or 6 years ago, I did a speech at the Irish Stammering Association conference. It was the first time I could be myself and brag and not care. And for to be in that situation, it's life changing.